I didn't expect the message to feel heavy. It was just a simple text, after all. A few polite words, gratitude, warmth, family. But something in it didn't sit right. My son's wife texted, "We're so grateful Owen's therapy is helping. But Raymond wants Christmas just for us this year. I hope you understand." I read it once, then again, and then a third time slower, like maybe the meaning would change if I gave it enough patience. It didn't. It only grew colder. I've always believed that silence can say more than words ever will. And in that moment, sitting alone in my kitchen with the glow of my phone, reflecting off the coffee I hadn't touched, I could feel something slipping quietly, gently, almost politely, like I was being edged out of something I didn't even realize I was still holding on to. My name is Daniel, and for most of my life I thought I understood what family meant. Not in some grand, perfect way, but in the small, dependable ways. Showing up, remembering birthdays, fixing things without being asked, being there even when it was inconvenient, especially when it was inconvenient. My son Raymond used to understand that too. At least, I thought he did. Raymond was the kind of child who didn't need much. He was quiet, observant, the type who would sit beside me in the garage for hours, not saying a word, just watching me work. When he was 7, he asked me why I never threw anything away. "Because everything breaks eventually," I told him. "And when it does, you'll wish you kept the pieces." He didn't fully understand it then, but he remembered. He always remembered. After his mother passed, it was just the two of us. That kind of loss, it reshapes people. I became more careful, more present. I learned how to listen better, even when there were no words being spoken. And Raymond, he grew up faster than he should have. We didn't talk about the grief much, not directly, but it was there in the way he lingered in doorways, or how he'd leave the TV on at night just for the noise. We adapted. We leaned on each other. That's what family does, right? When Raymond met Claire, I'll admit I was relieved. She was warm, thoughtful, the kind of person who made an effort without making it obvious. She remembered little things, the way I liked my tea, the stories I'd already told twice. She laughed easily. And more importantly, Raymond laughed more when she was around. That mattered to me, more than anything. They got married in a quiet ceremony. Nothing extravagant. Just close friends, a few relatives, and me standing a little too stiff in a suit I hadn't worn in years. I remember watching Raymond as he said his vows. There was a steadiness in him I hadn't seen before, a kind of certainty, like he had found something solid to stand on. I thought, maybe this is how things are supposed to go. You raise someone, you guide them, and eventually, they build a life of their own. You step back. You let them. And for a while, that's exactly what I did. I didn't interfere. I didn't call too often. I gave them space, but they still came by. Sunday dinners became a quiet tradition. Claire would help set the table. Raymond would pretend he didn't know how to chop vegetables properly, and I'd correct him every single time. We laughed. It felt normal. Then Owen was born. My grandson. I still remember the first time I held him. He was so small, so impossibly fragile that I was afraid to even breathe too close. But when his fingers wrapped around mine, something shifted inside me. A second chance, maybe, or a continuation of something I thought I had lost. Either way, he mattered. Deeply. But not everything was easy. Owen had his challenges. The kind that don't show up immediately, but slowly over time. Subtle at first. Delayed responses. Difficulty with eye contact. Moments where he seemed somewhere else. Claire noticed it before anyone. Raymond didn't want to. I tried to stay balanced between them. Supportive but not intrusive. Present but not overwhelming. It's a difficult line to walk. Being a father to someone who is now a father himself. When they told me about the therapy, I didn't hesitate. I offered to help. Financially, emotionally, whatever they needed. And they accepted, gratefully. At least, that's what I believed. I started seeing Owen more often after that. Picking him up for short visits. Sitting with him during quiet afternoons. Learning the rhythms that made him comfortable. He didn't speak much, but he noticed things. The ticking of a clock. The way light moved across the floor. The sound of my voice when I read to him. We found our own way to connect. No pressure. Just presence. Claire would text me updates. Progress reports. Small victories. The kind that might seem insignificant to others, but meant everything to us. Owen made eye contact today. He said a new word. He smiled when he heard your voice. Those messages, they mattered. They made me feel like I was part of something important, like I was still needed. So when her message came that morning, the one about Christmas, I wasn't prepared for how it would feel. It wasn't just the words. It was what sat underneath them, unspoken, unexplained. I stared at the screen for a long time, trying to understand, trying to be reasonable. Families change. Traditions shift. People need space. I told myself all of that, over and over again. But there was something else, something quieter, harder to ignore. A question that kept circling back. Why now? I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. In the end, I kept it simple. Of course, I understand. Give Owen a hug for me. I added a smiley face. It felt appropriate, polite, safe. But the moment I hit send, I felt it. That small, unmistakable distance. Like a door had been closed, not slammed, not locked, just gently shut. And I was standing on the wrong side of it. The days that followed were quiet, too quiet. No updates, no casual messages, no Sunday dinner plans. I told myself they were busy. That therapy was demanding. That life gets in the way. But silence, like I said before, has a way of speaking. And this silence was getting louder. A week later, I found myself driving past their street. I didn't plan to. It just happened. My hands turned the wheel before my mind caught up. I slowed down as I approached their house. Lights on, curtains drawn. Everything looked normal. Too normal. I almost kept driving. I should have. But something stopped me. A feeling. Instinct, maybe, or something deeper. I pulled over across the street. Sat there. Watching, waiting. I don't know what I expected to see. Nothing, probably. And for a while, that's exactly what I got. Nothing. Then the front door opened, and Raymond stepped out. He looked different, not in a dramatic way, just distant, preoccupied, like his mind was somewhere else entirely. A moment later, Claire appeared behind him. She said something, I couldn't hear what, but her tone, it wasn't the same warmth I was used to. There was tension there, sharp, quiet, controlled. Raymond nodded, didn't argue, didn't smile. And then, someone else stepped into the doorway behind them, just for a second, long enough for me to notice, but not long enough to understand. I leaned forward slightly, my heart starting to beat a little faster, trying to get a better look, trying to make sense of what I had just seen, because the way Raymond reacted, the way he stepped aside, the way Claire's expression shifted, it wasn't confusion, it wasn't surprise, it was familiarity. And in that moment, sitting alone in my car, watching from across the street, I felt it, that quiet, creeping certainty, the kind that doesn't need proof, the kind that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. Something was already happening, something I hadn't been told, something that made that simple, polite message about Christmas feel like the beginning of an ending. And as the door slowly closed behind them, I realized I wasn't being given space. I was being replaced. The thing about certainty is that once it finds you, it doesn't let go. I sat in that car longer than I should have. Long enough for the porch light to flicker on. Long enough for the quiet of the street to settle into something heavier, something watchful. That brief glimpse, just a figure in the doorway, shouldn't have meant anything. But it did. Because of the way Raymond stepped aside. Because of the way Claire didn't look surprised. Because of the way Raymond stepped aside. Because of the way Claire didn't look surprised. Because of the way I suddenly felt like a stranger parked outside a life I thought I still belonged to. I didn't get out of the car that night. I told myself I wouldn't. If they wanted space, I would give it to them. That's what I had always done, hadn't I? Respected boundaries. Stayed in my place. Trusted that love didn't need to be forced to prove it existed. So I drove home. Slowly. Carefully. Like if I rushed, something inside me might crack wide open. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the same chair where I had read Claire's message. My phone resting on the table beside me, screen dark, silent. I thought about texting Raymond. Just something simple. Everything okay? But I didn't. Because I already knew the answer I would get. Yes, Dad, everything's fine. And somehow, that would feel worse. Morning came quietly. too quietly. The kind of morning where the light feels indifferent, like it doesn't care what you've realized overnight. I made coffee, didn't drink it, picked up my phone, put it back down, then picked it up again. This time I opened Claire's last message. Read it one more time. We're so grateful Owen's therapy is helping. But Raymond wants Christmas just for us this year. Raymond wants. Not we. Not Owen needs. Raymond wants. It was subtle, almost invisible. But once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. 3 days passed. No messages. No updates about Owen. No small victories shared. Just silence. And that silence had started to feel intentional. On the 4th day, I broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. I picked up the phone and called Raymond. It rang longer than usual, long enough for doubt to creep in. Then he answered. Hey, Dad. His voice was normal. Too normal. We talked about nothing at first. Work, weather, small things, careful things. The kind of conversation people have when they're avoiding something, much bigger sitting between them. I waited. Let the silence stretch just enough. Then I asked, How's Owen doing? A pause. Short. But there. He's good. Yeah, he's doing good. Another pause. He had a session yesterday. Went well. He wasn't lying. But he wasn't telling me everything either. I could hear it. Feel it. In the spaces between his words. That's good, I said softly. Claire used to text me updates. Another pause. Longer this time. Yeah, she's been busy. Busy. Such a simple word. Such an easy shield. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. Of course, I said. I understand. There it was again. That phrase. The one I kept using like it could hold everything together. We talked for a few more minutes. Then the call ended. No mention of Christmas. No mention of the message. No mention of the distance growing quietly between us. After I hung up, I just sat there. Phone still in my hand, staring at nothing. That was the moment. I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. If I kept waiting, I would keep losing, piece by piece, moment by moment, until there was nothing left to hold on to. So the next day, I went back. I told myself I was just passing by again, that I wouldn't stop, that I wouldn't make things uncomfortable. But when I turned onto their street, my hands didn't listen. They slowed the car, pulled it over. Same spot, same view. Only this time, the door was already open. I stepped out before I could talk, myself out of it. Each step toward the house felt heavier than the last, not because I was afraid of what I'd find, but because some part of me already knew. I reached the door, knocked once, soft, then again, a little louder. Footsteps, approaching. Then the door opened. Claire stood there, and for a split second, something flickered across her face. Not surprise, not guilt, something closer to calculation. Daniel, she said, her voice steady. Hi. No warmth, no easy smile, just polite recognition. I was in the area, I said. Thought I'd stop by. She hesitated, just enough for me to notice, then stepped aside. Come in. The house felt different, not physically. Everything was in its place. Same furniture, same quiet hum of familiarity. But the feeling was gone. I stepped inside slowly, listening, watching, trying to find something that still felt like it belonged to me. Owen? I asked gently. He's in the living room, Claire said, with... She stopped herself, just for a second, but it was enough. With? I repeated. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked ahead of me, and I followed. Every step felt louder now, more final, like I was walking towards something I couldn't undo. When I reached the living room, I saw him, Owen, sitting on the floor, quiet, focused, and beside him was the man I had only seen for a second from across the street. Up close, there was no confusion, no uncertainty. He looked comfortable, at ease, like he had been there many times before. Owen looked up, saw me, and for a moment, his face lit up. A small smile. Familiar, real, but before he could move, before he could even say anything, the man beside him placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. Not forceful, not harsh, just practiced. And Owen stayed where he was. I felt something shift inside me, Not anger. Not yet. Something deeper. Something colder. Raymond stepped into the room then. And when our eyes met, I saw it. Not confusion. Not surprise. Acceptance. Like this moment had already happened for him. Like I was the only one arriving late. "Dad," he said quietly. I looked between them. Raymond. Claire. The man. Owen. And suddenly, everything made sense. The silence. The message. The distance. They hadn't just been pulling away. They had been moving on. Without me. I swallowed, my voice steady, but only just. "Are you going to tell me who he is?" The room went still. Too still. And for a brief moment, no one spoke. Then Raymond exhaled slowly. Like someone finally ready to say something they had rehearsed 100 times. And that's when I realized this wasn't the beginning of the truth. It was the part they could no longer hide.